Well, it's a thrill to be here. Obviously, I want this to be an exchange, so I'd love to answer any questions you might have. But as the rookie commissioner, having just experienced, my first basketball season, it's been great. Nothing short of spectacular. On the men's side, probably unprecedented when you think about the strength of this conference, the national narrative. I made my way throughout the conference, attending both men's and women's games. The level of fandom and passion for basketball in this conference is unrivaled. Ratings are up 9% plus across the season on ESPN. And I think they do an incredible job creating the right narrative for us nationally. On the women's side, it was a very deep, a lot of parity. Attended quite a few women's basketball games this year, too. Excited, in fact, for them to be joining us here next year and making this into a 2-week moment for the conference. I'll be spending quite a bit of time over at the auditorium later this week. I think we're setting ourselves up very nicely for the tournament in March, the NCAA Tournament. I'm expecting anywhere between 7 and 8 schools, I think, from the men's, probably 6 or 7 from the women's, depending how things play out over the course of the next couple of days. But the strength of this conference in basketball, again, I think is unrivaled. On the men's side, it gets better next year when you think of Houston coming in, #1 ranked team in the country. Thrilled to be back here in Kansas City. I said that yesterday. Obviously, for my first time, I've heard wonderful things as far as how they host us and welcome us. I said yesterday, being here is a unique opportunity for us to really own the city. You think about Vegas, and there's 4 or 5 tournaments going on there, and here the focus is on the Big 12, obviously right in the middle of our footprint. So I think that feels really, really nice. We're here till 27. We extended that pre my arrival. The mayor and I chatted yesterday. Obviously, they'd like us to be here long term, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But we have time to discuss that. But Kansas City is a great place, and we're thrilled to be here and honored to be a part of the community, for the next week. But all in all, I think it's been a great basketball season again, and excited for the tournament. I think both on the men's and women's, it's somewhat unpredictable of who ends up winning. I think the strength of this conference gives a lot of teams an opportunity to win the tournament. And I'm just excited to be here and to be a part of it, and willing to open up for any questions that you might have.
So if you'll let one of the wireless mics come to you for your questions, and if you could identify your affiliation, that'd be helpful. Have one right here in the front row.
Brett, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. In retrospect, now 3 or 4 years later, how important was it to get that media rights deal done when you did?
I think it was critical. When I took the job August 1, although I had been thinking about it obviously previously to that, there was 3 things I really wanted to focus on. The first was to try to go early and get the TV deal done. I just felt we live in such an unpredictable world, and it was important to have some clarity and to stabilize the conference. I thought the best way to do that would to get a deal done with ESPN and Fox. Thankfully, they were willing to go early, and we found common ground. And just thrilled we were able to do it, because if you think about where we are today, 7 months into the job, we're in a very different place than we were 3 or 4 months ago. You think about these media companies and the layoffs and some of their challenges, and the fact that we were able to cement a 6-year extension with 2 of the biggest media partners in the business that truly elevate and glamorize our conference in every way possible. I look back on that, and I'm just thrilled. The board and the collective stakeholder group felt that it was the right thing to do. And when you think about 2025, when the new deal kicks in, we'll be the only Power 5 conference that is both with ESPN and Fox. So when you think about marketing and unprecedented promotion, we're with the best in the business. So I'm thrilled about that. But as I was saying earlier, there was really 3 things I was focused on. 1 was the TV deal. 2 is resolving the Oklahoma and Texas situation in a way that was amicable for all parties. If you recall, during media day, For football, I said it's got to be a win-win, and I think that's where we landed. It was good for all parties, and that's why we did the deal. And then the third, priority for me has been to explore expansion for all the right reasons. As I've said before, it's got to be additive, it's got to be accretive, but we are focused on it, and we're exploring every and all possibility. And I say that while also saying that I love the composition, the makeup of this conference going forward. I love the 4 new schools that are coming in July, the continuing 8. I think we're in a great place, but if there's a chance to get better, it's incumbent on me as the commissioner to explore those possibilities. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Commissioner Blair Kirchhoff with the Kansas City Star. How much of the new contract involves basketball, and is there an opportunity for basketball, Big 12 basketball, to be, increase its value to a television network?
So I've said before, I think basketball, generally speaking, in our industry is undervalued. Why that is, I can't tell you. Obviously, it's been bundled with football for the longest time. We'll explore opportunities to further monetize basketball when we go back into the market after this new TV deal. So I think everything we do from now till then is all about value creation and how can we position ourselves to monetize basketball in all the right ways. I'm convinced we can do that. The strength of our conference obviously will dictate much of that. And as I said earlier, with Houston coming in, we get that much stronger. And who knows where expansion takes us and what that means for our basketball program, both men's and women's. So I'm excited about our future. Now, as it relates to our current partners, obviously ESPN does an incredible job glamorizing this conference throughout the basketball season. But in our new TV deal, Fox becomes a player in basketball. And I think based on their performance this year, which was, I guess, in the news yesterday, their ratings, et cetera, that just gives us another shot in the arm, as it relates to more exposure, more marketing for our member institutions and our conference. So I think it only gets better in the new TV deal as far as the growth of our basketball program and how we can promote it.
Yeah, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. When you say any expansion needs to be additive, are you talking about economically? Or are you talking about branding? You're talking about strength? What exactly?
Every respect. It's got to be the right.
Every respect or all respect?
Well, it's got to be a good cultural fit first and foremost. We have a like-minded board, like-minded institutions, so we don't want to compromise that. So we need to, whoever comes in, ultimately, it has to have. There needs to be a cultural fit. Obviously, we look at geography, because I think that matters too. I've said it before, we want to be truly a national conference from a brand perspective, but also geographic footprint. So that matters. Performance matters, both academic and on the field and on the court. So we think about a lot of things when we explore expansion, not just one metric, but a couple.
More questions back here to Blair.
Is there anything new on Gonzaga as a possible Big 12 candidate for basketball?
I like Gonzaga, obviously a great program. My focus right now is to see what happens throughout our industry. There's a lot of moving parts, and I continue to have conversations with Gonzaga, but I think as I prioritize what our next move might be in expansion, there's other things right now that I'm focused on.
Brett, Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports. When it comes to Kansas City, what is it that would keep you here? Why would you possibly consider looking at this tournament being somewhere else?
Well, I haven't really considered moving this tournament. Obviously, this is my first experience, and I've heard wonderful things about the fan support, the community, the engagement, how they rally around this tournament. For this building in particular, it's probably one of the biggest weeks of the year. I met with the staff here at the building yesterday. They're very passionate about this tournament. So I really haven't thought about an alternative. I'm really here to experience it for the first time, but from what I've seen and from the people I've spoken to, it's a great fit for our conference. Walking around, the community, Power and Light District, the engagement, the activation supporting our conference is fantastic. And we don't need to share our voice with anyone else. As I said earlier, you look at Vegas and there's 4 or 5 tournaments going on there right now, and we own this great city throughout the week, and it feels really good. So this is home, and it's home through 27, and I don't see why we wouldn't continue beyond that.
Got a question on the photo deck?
Commissioner, you've mentioned the importance of marrying athletics, the sports side of this, with the entertainment side. You're dealing with a lot of administrative people, though, that are probably from the old school side of, hey, this is all sports. What kind of reception have you gotten in your listening tour going around, and how have they received that message?
It's a great question, and I will tell you that even dating back to when I interviewed for the job, I made it crystal clear that my vision for this conference was that we would live at the intersection of culture and sports. And my board and our ADs all embraced that vision and that mission. We seeded that in our football championship earlier this year, or last year, and then we've taken another big step forward here in Kansas City, where we have post events featuring Shaquille O'Neal and Fat Joe and national anthem singers, and we've created, in partnership with Levy here at T-Mobile, a great culinary experience that's never been done before. We have raised the premium hospitality level for our best customers, courtside seating, a new championship club. So we feel that there is a balance that needs to be played out here. But seeding culture into what already existed, I think, is a great step for us as a conference. I think it's a big differentiator for us. I don't know if you have, did all of you hear our new anthem song? No Nights Off? So, that anthem is not just about basketball. It's really about the DNA of this conference, how we're going to be gritty. It's all about hard work, passion, commitment. Obviously, we've seen a lot of that during the basketball season, but it really speaks to who we are as a conference going forward and our DNA. And I'm really excited about what the opportunities are in front of us and how we can truly live at the intersection of culture and sports.
Yeah, Brett, getting Fox and ESPN both on board for basketball is great, but neither one has a piece of the NCAA Tournament, which is signed up through 32. A lot of dismay among coaches and administrators that the biggest marketer of college basketball, ESPN, doesn't have a part of the NCAA Tournament. Going forward, would you like to see that changed, and CBS not having, and TNT not keeping the others out of the NCAA pie?
I have not thought about it in that, from that perspective, but I think whatever media partners give us the biggest voice, can glamorize this tournament, promote it, market it, bring it to casual fans in addition to hardcore fans, is where it should ultimately reside. I think Turner and CBS have done a great job, but we need to explore all options, and I'm sure Charlie Baker will ultimately do that.
Let's go to the second row here.
Yeah, Brett, Max Olson from The Athletic. You mentioned in talking with your partners, ESPN and Fox, on the new deal, how did you kind of land in the right place in terms of that split of linear versus streaming, especially with football, and kind of where this is going versus what your member institutions want?
Well, it's a great question. For us, we could have waited it out and maybe pursued something that was more streaming focused. But I just felt, based on where we are as a conference today, we needed the biggest distribution possible. We need the biggest platform to promote and market our member institutions. I think we have brands that are right on the cusp. And we want to make those into household brands, and there's no one better than ESPN and Fox to do that for us. They're great marketing partners. You think about what they did even this year with Game Day and Big Noon. I mean, it was just incredible for our conference. They gave us just a huge narrative, and that will continue and continue to grow moving forward. But there's a healthy mix of streaming. You know, when you think about Big 12 now on ESPN Plus, but being on the biggest stage possible with ESPN and Fox was critically important to us. And it was a driver, in fact.
We got time for 2 more questions. We'll go here first.
Randy Peterson, Des Moines Register. A couple questions back, you mentioned courtside seating. Have those seats where we used to sit, have those all been sold?
Yes, sir. Every single one of them. And I know you're probably not happy about being displaced from those courtside seats, and I'm sorry about that. But that was a decision I made, and I announced that in October during Media Day. I made it crystal clear that we had to go through a transformative moment, try to drive value to our best donors and our best customers while also increasing revenue. And that was one of the reasons I was put in this chair as commissioner. But trust me, the media is very important to me. I've always had a great relationship with the media. I'm very accessible. I want to do right by you guys. If there's ways we can, better the experience moving forward in next year, I'm open to it. I'm open to your comments and thoughts. But it was the right decision for this conference on a go-forward basis. But I appreciate the question.
Okay, our last question will be here on the second row.
Under the new TV deal, Brett, with ESPN in particular, with them being so invested with the SEC, how do you see ESPN Plus playing a bigger role or smaller role in some of the content that's going to be provided by the conference?
Well, we have had many discussions with ESPN on the digital side, and we as part of the new agreement, we will look to rebrand, to look to upgrade. We're looking at production and ways we can further enhance that. So ESPN has made a huge commitment to us on building that platform and presenting all of our sports in the best way possible. And I'm excited about that and how that's going to evolve.
Thank you all for being with us this afternoon. Commissioner, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.